Hello Internet! Today I'm going to make a different video compared to the usual video I do, because today I'm going to review the settings in Advanced Themer for the new customers that are new to Advanced Themer, and I'm going to recommend the setting that I believe should be included when you start using Advanced Themer. And this series will have 2 episodes. The first one will be the settings recommended when you are not using any kind of framework. And the second one, the second episode, will be focused on the settings of Advanced Themer if you are using CSS, Core Framework, Oxyprops, or any other framework. Okay, so stick with me and let's jump in the Advanced Themer settings right now. So I just make a fresh install of WordPress, and I installed already Advanced Themer. I installed Bricks, of course, and activated the license, and I activated also the license of Advanced Themer. So the first thing you want to do is jump inside the theme settings that you can find in the top bar on the top, theme settings. You can also find as the theme settings as a menu item on the left within the Bricks menu, right? Theme settings. Okay, so I didn't make any change. This is what you see when you install for the first time Advanced Themer. Okay, so the first thing you want to check is the Global Settings tab, and let's review what's inside. The General tab here will enable or disable any category in Advanced Themer. And right now we have, like you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories. And you can, of course, decide to disable them, okay, toggle them all, and you will see no category anymore in the tabs, right? But that's not of course, my recommended settings. So I recommend to toggle them all if you are using Advanced Themer, because everything is helpful in Advanced Themer from my point of view, of course. Okay, so you want to be sure that all these options here that we will review one by one in a minute are activated, right? For the builder elements, if you are planning to make a dark mode on your website, you want to toggle the Advanced Themer elements, which is dark mode toggle or dark mode button. And this will allow your users to have a toggle on front end to toggle from light mode and dark mode. So you want to probably to enable these options. Enable or disable any Bricks element. So if you are not planning to disable completely elements in Bricks, you can keep them all checked. And if you want to remove elements from the builder or from your entire site, you can do this. But right now, if you have no particular need for this at the moment, you can keep them all checked. Permission, so let's set the user role as administrator, okay, for now. And let's also allows to upload CSS and JSON, okay. The miscellaneous settings, so you probably want to use ACF, so let's disable this option if you want to. And you can also remove all data when installing the plugin, probably leave it as no if you don't want to remove completely Advanced Themer in future. Import export, I will leave this right now because I'm going to do an install from scratch. But of course you can, when you have your blueprint, let's say, you can export it and re-import it in other sites with Advanced Themer. Okay. I'm going to save the settings just because my global settings are right now okay with me. And let's jump on the first category, the global colors. Okay. The global colors. It's interesting to use these settings when you start your website, because now we have the option to add a prefix to your CSS variables created from your global styles, from your global colors, sorry. And you don't want to change this prefix when you're done. You want to make it right away. So probably set your prefix right now. I'm going to set 80 just for now. Enable dark mode on front end. This is your choice. If you are planning to use dark mode on front end, make sure to select this. Global meta theme color. For now, I'm not going to review this option, so let's just let it like that. Gutenberg settings. So you can decide to replace the default Gutenberg's color palettes with the one from Bricks. So again, if you are going to use Gutenberg for posts or custom posts, you can of course click on replace Gutenberg color palettes. I'm going to recommend to remove the default Gutenberg presets, because if you are not going to use them, they are just bloating your front end. You can just decide to remove the default Gutenberg presets and save the settings. We are good for the global colors. The global CSS variables. Okay, right now we have a series of options on the left. All these tabs on the left can be manipulated from the general tab from here. So if you don't, let's say you don't need variables for typography, spacing and border, you can just unselect typography, spacing and border here, and they won't appear inside the menu, and they won't be used on the front end of your website, and of course not on the back end and inside the builder as well. Okay. My recommendation, if you start from scratch, is to leaving them, of course, because we have some presets that you can use, and it just saves time. We can probably, if you are not right now planning to import your framework, we can disable import framework option. Okay, again, we can set a prefix for our CSS variables. Let's just use 80 as always. And these are the settings used from Bricks. So the base font size by default is 10 pixels in Bricks. Let's keep like that. Of course, if you are changing the base font size in Bricks, like 100%, for example, make sure to change this value to 16 pixels, right? And the minimum viewport, I would just keep it like this for now, right? For all these options here, unless you have a specific scale for typography in mind, I will just keep the default for right now, because they are based on the Utopia's Fluid Type Scale Calculator, which is pretty solid as a default scale for your typography. And if you want to change, you can of course move from here if you want, and you can add other options. So for now, there are only the headers and the body, but of course you can add new typography variables or remove the existing one. You can change the name, but font H1 is pretty clear as a variable for me. I would just keep like that. The same goes for the spacing. There is already a default spacing based on the Utopia scale, which work pretty good. And border, we have for border we have no default value. If you want to set any default value for borders, you can add them right now. There are 3 default borders for the radius, okay, and of course I will leave like this for now, but you can change according to your design. So we have a radius image, a radius card, and a radius button. feel free to change the value as you want. Same goes for the box shadow, the width, and the custom variables. So right now I'll just act like I don't have any custom variables I want to add. But of course, when you have a design set in mind, and probably you have a lot of custom variables you want to add, you can add them here. Keep in mind that we are in the global variable section, so these variables will apply on your entire site, and they are managed from the backend. But since a recent release from Advanced Themer, you can also add your CSS variables inside the builder through the theme variables, these one. And you want to make this option available because I believe it's really useful to be able to create your theme variables inside the builder without going back and forth between the theme settings and the builder. And it's really easy to create CSS variables, to maintain them, and easily change and pick them inside the builder. So this is really a recommendation to leave the theme variables enabled. All right? Let's just save the settings for the CSS variables. CSS classes now. We have two options basically. The grid utility classes. So probably if you are planning to use utility classes for your grids, like create 3-column grids, 4-column grids, 5-column grids, you can manage them from here. So the default is a grid 3. Of course, you can change the gap with a variable, for example. You can set the maximum of number of columns, and also the minimum column width that your grid need to have. So if there is not enough space for the 3 columns, when each column is 280 pixels, it will automatically stack and become 2 columns. And when there are not enough space for 2 columns, it will automatically stack again and do 1 column. Okay, so you can manage your utility classes here. You don't need grid utility classes. You could eventually disable this because inside the builder there is also the grid builder, where you can create bento grids, complicated grids, but also simple grids like this. So up to you if you want to use an already existing utility classes for your grids, or if you just want to stick to the grid builder. For now, I'm going to leave it. It's only outputting 1 class inside the front end. It will create no bloat. So no issue here. The class importer is a more advanced feature if you are willing to import an existing style sheet and you want to parse the entire style sheet to find the classes and import these classes inside the builder and use them as global classes. Okay. If you are not relying on an external style sheet, you can just disable this option. So right now I'm going to disable the class importer. It's really useful as an option to make the bridge between your external style sheet and the bricks builder. But right now I'm going to act like I have no external style sheet and I don't need to import classes, and so I'm just going to save the settings like this. Okay, before jumping on the builder tricks, which is the biggest section in Advanced Themer, I'm just quickly going to review the strict editor view. Okay, so strict editor view, I believe if you are planning to restrict access to your clients, okay, this option is really useful. Okay, if you are not going to grant access to your clients and you want to have everything under control, you can just disable the strict editor view. Okay, the strict editor view is an option to enhance the experience of the editor role, which already exists in Bricks, but there are a couple of things that that can be improved in the way Bricks implemented it. And the strict editor view allow you, for example, to change some white label option. So you can change the logo image, change from the Bricks Builder image from yours, for example. You can change the accent color, so not the yellow bricks anymore, but change to your own. But right now, I'm not going to change this, okay? You can disable the option in toolbars, so I believe you should disable all the icons in toolbars, because these options shouldn't be, from my point of view, used for a client. And enable, here we can restrict the elements that your editor can change. So basically, if you don't enable anything right here, your client won't be able to change any settings from any type of elements. If you toggle them all, you can you allow your editors to manipulate these kind of elements. So from my point of view, I'm going to just leave adding basic text and probably image and buttons, probably. And that's about it. I'm not going to give access to accordions or I don't know, tabs or things like that, or sliders. These are too complex for my clients. So I'm just going to leave this adding basic text. I could do rich text, but rich text implies HTML format and tags that probably your clients don't know. So you could use the visual part of the rich text, but I believe it's make it too much complex. You could add the text link probably, and maybe the icon too. But I would probably leave icon too, because it's too design specific, and if your client starts playing with icons, they may mess a bit with the design. But okay, let's just activate right now. And for the builder tricks, I would probably enable them all. But if I enable here disable all controls by default, I must remember that I need to activate the controls inside the builder that my editors will be able to use. So be cautious to enable the first trick for editors, because if you are not going to control the settings inside the builder, they won't have access to any controls in their view, okay? So since it's a bit complicated, for now I'm going to disable it and just use the default controls shown by Bricks by default, right? But I'm going to hide the ID class control. I don't think they should be able to see this, nor the dynamic data trigger, so I don't want them to choose dynamic data inside my fields. It's too complex for them. Hide the text heading toolbar inside the preview window of the builder. There is a little toolbar that show up when you write text that allows you to make the text bold, italic, and change the tags and things like that. And I don't think they should mess with the style, so I just want them to be able to change the content, but not the styles. Sorry. I want them to hide the structure panel. Okay, I don't want them to be confused with my DOM. It's not something really easy for a new user. Reduce the left panel visibility, which allows them to have a full width experience inside the builder. So I'm going to leave this. And once you enable reduced left panel visibility, you can also decide which element should have these options. So for example, since we already enabled the heading and basic text, right? They can change this, but you can decide to not allow the left panel for these elements. And then what happens? Okay, it happens that if they click on the element, the text element, they can change the content. They can type text inside the preview window, but they won't have the left panel options. And this is probably what I'm willing to keep, because as I said before, I want them to be able to change the text, but having no other option. So basically my recommendation is to keep these off for the text. But if you are letting them change the image, you certainly will want to enable image, because you can't change the image if you have no left panel, right? You need the left panel to change the image options. So you really want to keep them enabled. Same thing for icon. You can't change the icon if you have no left panel. And I would probably enable also the button, because typically the button, you want to assign a URL to the button, and they can't do that if they have no access to the left panel. And probably the same thing for the text link, right? Let's come back to the tricks. Disable header and footer edit button on over. So you have the possibility inside the builder for your editors to have access to a shortcut to open your footer and header templates. So I don't recommend it, because I don't want my users to have access to my templates. I just want them to have access to the content and edit on the fly. But messing with my templates would be, for me, a huge mistake. So I disable header and footer edit buttons inside the preview window. And the same thing goes to remove templates and setting links. Typically, you will find these links to edit the template on the top bar of bricks. It says edit bricks, and then or edit page, and then it shows all the templates that you can edit. And also it will remove the templates menu item from the menu. So if you enable remove template and setting links, they won't have access basically to the templates, right? I'm probably going to disable inject custom CSS, because I'm not planning right now to inject custom CSS inside the editor view. And I'm going just to save the settings right now. Okay? AI. Advanced Themers comes with an AI integration. If you have an API from OpenAI, just insert your API key in this field. The default AI model will be GPT-4, and the tone of voice are these one. I don't want to change anything here. If you don't plan to use AI, or you don't have an OpenAI API key, I recommend to go in the global settings, general, and disable AI. You just don't need it, right? Okay, extras. So this is a really quick section. A couple of things. Resources, which enable the ability to have a gallery of images inside the builder, and it's useful. For example, if you want to have a design gallery, if you are building your sites or your pages according to some design, it's useful to have a gallery when you can just open it and see how the page is structured, instead of going back and forth from Figma, for example, and your design. Again, this is really an extra. You can safely remove it if you want. And the Brick Slabs, same thing, you don't have to enable anything because the Brick Slabs integration, which will show a pop-up with all the articles written by Brick Slabs, can be useful. And yeah, you don't have to do anything. If you don't want these options, you can just disable extras. They are not the main features of Advanced Themer, right? Let's just save like this. Okay? Builder tricks. This is the big part of Advanced Themer. And this is the part where most people get confused. So I'm going to review every option that I believe you should enable, right? So for me, it's safe to enable both options in the top bar, both tweaks, sorry. So responsive helper, and open the new tab, link. Okay, both useful, and it doesn't mess with anything else inside your builder. Now the icon shortcuts. So this is a revised system in 2.5 in Advanced Themer, because before, in order to enable each global feature, you needed a specific shortcut inside the top bar. The problem is your top bar was getting overloaded and it was confusing. Okay, so since 2.5 you have the option to have a unique Advanced Themer main menu that will contain all these options inside it. Okay, so you don't have to enable them. You can enable them. They are not going away. Okay, and if you, for example, if you use Advanced CSS, which is a way to write page and global CSS inside the builder in an efficient way, you may want to have a shortcut icon only for this in the top bar. It's not needed, but for example, I do activate this shortcut because I'm using Advanced CSS a lot. The same thing goes for example, for the class manager. I don't use the Bricks class manager. I use the Advanced Themer manager, of course. and since I use the class manager a lot, I like to have a dedicated shortcut in the top bar to quickly access it. And I probably would enable also variable manager and color manager, but if you are not going to use them a lot, you can keep them off. Anyway, you will find them inside the 80 main menu, so it's just convenience. These legacy options are just convenience. So I would keep these one. I believe Advanced CSS and Global Class Manager are the most used manager panels, and I would keep a shortcut. Right? Let's just save for now. The structure panel. The structure panel, I would recommend to keep all the builder tricks for the structure panel. So the enable shortcuts for creating new elements is a bar on the right to quickly create shortcuts, create elements inside your structure, really useful. Style and class indicators inside the structure panel, really useful if you want to catch if an element has a CSS on the ID level or a global class assigned. Okay, you can understand this on the fly, looking at your structure panel, really useful. Resizable structure panel, really useful too. Highlight nestable elements, why not? Highlight parent elements, why not? Expand all scheduled elements, really useful. And draggable structure panel, really useful as well. I'm not describing, of course, every single trick because this video would be long, like 5 hours. I'm just recommending the tweaks that I would keep toggle on from the start. Okay. I would select all the shortcuts. unless you are not planning to use maybe the list element, or I don't know, the SVG, but I would use SVG, so I would keep it. And maybe the divider, you are not going to use it, but some user of Advanced Themer are using the divider element, so there is an option for this. And I will keep the style and classes as blue or pink. You can change the color, but these are fine for me. And the default structure panel 350. We could increase it to 400. I prefer 400, but yeah, that's your choice. For the shortcuts inside the structure panel, I will certainly enable them all. So just oh no, sorry. The structure helper is now integrated inside the main menu. Okay, so you don't have to. It will just create a shortcut for it inside the structure panel. So I would keep it off, because the structure helper is not a model that you are using like every time. Okay, you use it to check from time to time some elements inside your structure. You don't need always. But I would keep the elements tag, because I want to easily change with a shortcut if I want to add the tag inside my HTML tag inside my structure, and I want to switch it off and on as I want to. Okay, and my default tag view would probably be developer mode, because I like the tags to have colors, so it's easily you can see on the fly which tag you can change and which one you can't inside the builder. So I would keep developer mode. And now the trick for the contextual menu, which is a menu that is open only inside the structure panel in bricks. And I would keep basic text converter for sure, move elements for sure, delete wrappers and move children up for sure. I'd show element is legacy, because it's now also in the class contextual menu, which I will talk about it in a moment. But I would keep the hide and show element inside as a shortcut inside my contextual menu. Okay, you don't have to, but I would recommend to keep it enabled. I would disable extend classes, find, replace, class converter. I would probably recommend to keep class converter shortcut inside the contextual menu. It's helpful. And you can also disable the style overview shortcut, but for my convenience, I would probably keep it, style overview shortcut. And the same thing for component class manager, which is super useful. Again, these options are now in another menu, but for my convenience, I would keep them enabled, because I use the class converter a lot, I use the style overview a lot, and I also use the component class manager, which is super useful to see, to have a quick overview of the classes, all the global classes used on a specific component, not an element, but a component, right? Okay, so this is my personal selection. You can leave extend classes and find and replace shortcuts away. You will have it inside the AT main menu, so no worries to keep it off. Okay, so I would save the settings right now and jump on the classes and styles. Okay, by default, everything is disabled, but there are a lot of super useful options. So I'm going to reorder the global class alphabetically, which is a time saver for me. Group classes by log status. I won't do that. I will keep the order of the global classes alphabetically and don't separate by log status. So I'm going to keep that toggle off. But I'm going to add log styles on element ID level, and I'm also going to activate this further option, which is lock ID style on element with global classes. So that means that if the element have no global class assigned, you will be able to change the ID controls. But if the element has a global style, a global class assigned, that means that it will lock the ability to change the ID styles, and you will be forced to enable to activate the global class to make change. So I'm going to enable this. I'm going to enable CSS variable picker because I want to be able to easily assign CSS variables to my elements. I'm going to enable suggested drop-down for CSS variables that will suggest when I'm typing inside a control, it will suggest the related CSS variables. Autocomplete suggestion on hover, so it makes you a preview when you hover on the suggestion, which one will how it will be applied inside the builder. So I'm going to check this as well. Highlight classes, really useful to see which element have common classes. Count classes and navigation, I will enable this as well. The color preview on hover, I will enable this. Class preview on hover, I will enable this too. Just make things easy to preview before applying a specific class or specific color. I want to see how it shows on the preview just by hovering on a color or a class. Really useful. Style indicators in the media queries panel, I enable this. Really useful to see where there are custom options on which media queries. So I'm going to enable this. Indicators of style inherited from class, I'm going to enable this because if you want to see if, for example, the width is already styled by a class, you have an indicator that shows don't change this value, it's already changed by a class. Or if you are going to change, you are going to override it. So you want to know this. Breakpoint indicator, really useful to know on which breakpoint a certain control is changed. Lock class indicator, I'm going to apply it because I want, when I enter in an element, I want to see which global class is locked. Maybe because it comes from my own framework, I'm not going to change this, okay? And I want to see which one are unlocked and that I can safely change, right? Autofocus on first unlocked class, really useful feature. And auto format your control value, I'm going to apply it. It's a bit radical, but it's a radical choice, but I like it. So auto format your controls. Instead of writing clamp, for example, there are shortcuts to apply your clamp. And if you read how to do it, you can just hover on this icon and it will explain you how to easily create a clamp function using these shortcuts. Same for calc, same for min, max, var. Close the variable brackets and pixel to rem converter. I'm going to, by default, enable everything. The advanced CSS editor, I really love the advanced CSS editor because you can easily change your CSS on a page level, on a global level. You can see the imported CSS. You can see your child style. It's really useful. So I'm going to leave everything enabled, the page, the global, the child, the imported CSS, and also the AI assistant. Of course, if you are not using AI, it won't show up. So you can also disable it. But if you are going to use AI, it can help you to easily create styles using OpenAI. I'm not going to activate SAS integration because it's still in experimental. Although the feedback are really positive, and I think it will be quite safe to use it in production, but not quite yet. So until the experimental tag is not removed. I wouldn't use it in production. Okay, let's say the settings for the classes and styles. It's a big block, right? And now the other big block is elements. There is a lot of options here, okay? And it's really easy. For me, the builder tricks on elements, I would enable them all. Easy, done. I will enable lorem ipsum generator, disable the pin icon for element lists. Although you can, if you are using the pin element, you could, of course, remove it. Yeah, let's remove it. You can disable the pin icon because sometimes when you add elements from that list, you by error you click on that pin element instead of adding the element into the structure. It's just a distraction if you are not using the pinned elements. I'm not using the pin elements myself, so I'm usually disabling it. But if you do, you can disable it, of course. Close all open style accordions. I use it. Hide inactive style accordion panel. I use it. Disable elements outline when styling borders and box shadow. Super useful because when you open and you want to style borders or box shadow, the builder show a default border from the builder, and it doesn't allow you to see your styles on borders and box shadow. So I want to disable this outline from the builder to see exactly what I'm doing when I'm styling these fields. Elements, columns, and collapse expand, I'm leaving enabled. I use superpowers CSS because it enhances a lot your custom CSS field inside each element. You can do a lot of more than what Bricks offer by default, and I keep superpower enabled. I increase the text controls because if you are using a lot of variables inside your fields, you will see that the default Bricks elements are really teeny, and you don't see the variables names. So you want to increase the size of the text control. Reveal class icon on over, it's an aesthetic option, I leave it open. Expand spacing control, again, this is exclusively for the spacing, so margins and padding mostly. And I found this view easier to work with compared to the Bricks, the natural Bricks view. The grid builder is a big enhancement from Advanced Themer, and it allows you to create complex grids visually. Really useful. I keep it, of course, enabled. Copy paste interaction and condition, same thing, super useful. Box shadow generator, super useful. Advanced text wrapper, useful as well if you want to easily wrap text and create custom HTML tags inside your text or your text or your headers too. Really useful. For the type of dummy content, since the last release you can change to a custom text, but for my personal use I'm fine with lorem ipsum. My default list columns is one column, I leave it like this. I am not going to activate the SAS integration for superpower CSS right now. Same reason that I explained before with advanced CSS. And I'm going to set expanded spacing controls by default. You could leave that off if you want to control when to activate it, but I like them always, so I'm just setting it as default. Now, these were the builder tricks. Right now, we are now in the shortcuts. So again, the same thing that I said before for the top bar apply now for the shortcuts. A lot of options are legacy. Why? Because we have now a class contextual menu. This is super recommended because it contains a lot of options for your class and your styles in general inside the builder. Okay, so I would recommend to to click on this one, it's also specified, it's recommended. So go with it. Left tabs, I love left tabs. Left tabs allows you to navigate easily from the tabs of your style window. And I'm going to enable all the content, layout, typography, background, everything in here. I'm also going to enable pseudo element shortcuts because it's easier to style, hover style, pseudo element style through these shortcuts. And I'm also going to enable the element CSS shortcut because it's an easy way to access your CSS inside the left panel. And I'm also going to enable go to parent shortcut because if I want to have a quick access to the parent that I'm editing right now, I don't have to go to the structure panel, but I'm just able to click this icon, the shortcut, and it will select your parent automatically. All the other options are legacy and are inside the class contextual menu, but there are maybe a couple of things I want to enable because they are just save time. So for example, my typical use will be to enable the plain class shortcut. Okay, if you want to have a quick way to edit your classes in a plain editor, you maybe don't want to make 2 clicks, so to open class contextual menu and then plain class, you just want to click the dedicated shortcut. I'm going to enable export ID styles because this is a really neat feature. You want to style on the ID and just export everything on the class and create it on the fly. It's a useful shortcut. If you are using a lot of clone class, you could enable this one as well. I don't personally. I mean, I use it, but not as often to have it as a shortcut. I'm happy, super happy. It's inside the class contextual menu, so if I need it, I'm just opening the class contextual menu. I don't need a dedicated shortcut for it. The same thing goes for the copy class to clipboard, find, replace, extend global classes. They can be inside the class contextual menu easily. The class manager shortcut is a nice one, and the style overview shortcut is a nice one as well. You could enable them both because they open the styles and the classes inside the manager easily in one click. But hey, they are inside the class contextual menu. I don't want to overload my UI, so I'm going to leave them off. Although they could be inside my recommended choice, but for now I'm going to leave them off. The left tab shortcut I'm going to leave like this. I already enable all the left tab shortcuts, and I'm going also to enable all the elements, maybe not focus and active, because these are styles that are rarely used, active and focus. I tend to write custom CSS for this. If I need to apply specific CSS for focus, state, I'm probably going to use custom CSS, but that's me. You could, of course, use the builder for this, but I'm happy to have hover before and after as a shortcut inside the builder. Okay, done for the shortcuts. Now the custom settings. These are settings that we are going to apply to our elements, right? The example is we want to set P as paragraph as the default HTML tag for basic text. I'm not willing to keep the div element as default HTML tag for text. I want paragraph, and this is the option. So I'm going to set P as paragraph. Figure, it really depends on the context. In some contexts, image is just fine. So I'm not going to apply this as default. But set caption to no caption, I'm going to set it as default. Set button as a default HTML tag for buttons, no. I'm going to leave it as an active tag. But if you are using buttons in other ways, it can be useful, of course. Set input text, the text input as text area for headings. So this will allow you to have more room to write text inside the headings element. Really useful. And it's needed if you want to use the text wrapper feature that we talked before. So this is really useful. I recommend it. Set SVG as default library for icons. No, it's really useful in some cases, but it's not a particularly recommended feature. The new filter transition tabs, yes, it makes things more organized in my point of view. New classes and ID tab, yes. Again, it's easy. It's easier to navigate through your settings with these new tabs. And set the overflow as a control, as a drop down. Instead of writing manually hidden, you can just select it from the drop down. It's really, really easy. Okay, these options, orange, I would recommend to enable this, but make sure to be aware that if you are planning to disable, to uninstall Advanced Themer after you finished your build, these fields won't work anymore. So they depend on Advanced Themer to work correctly. I'm not planning to disinstall Advanced Themer on my pages, and I'm planning to leverage these new fields for my builds. So I want the background clip control, I want the white space control. White space control is super useful. The content visibility, why not? The column count, super useful column count, because it creates masonry style like layouts really easily. And if you are going to use column count, you want the break control too. And you also want to have the new transformer perspective, really useful controls. And also the backdrop filter is now really used. So I would recommend it if you are planning to keep Advanced Themer. If you are not planning to keep it, make sure to enable this option, the orange ones, because it will mess with your design. Okay, so these are my recommendations for elements. Save settings. Templates, I would probably recommend to enable them all, except the auto select replace content, which make when you import templates, it will automatically select the replace content option. And it's risky, because if you import a template and you don't want to replace the existing content, all your content will be overwritten. Okay, so I would probably recommend to keep it off. But the quick save and auto generate thumbnails, super useful. Masonry layout, much easier to see your preview templates with a masonry layout. Okay, really useful. Auto select import image, yes, because I used to, if I put an image inside a template, it's probably because I want it inside my template. I don't want the default image, so I want to import as default. And add a featured image, yes, why not? Not the best feature of Advanced Themer, but really useful. Why not? Okay, keyboard shortcuts, of course, move elements and open the AT models. I would, of course, recommend to enable them. You can, here, you can customize the shortcuts for each panel of Advanced Themer. But right now, all these shortcuts work. They might go into conflict with your browser. It depends on the browser, your extension, a lot of criteria. So you are free to change the default value for the keyboard shortcut. But right now, I'm going to leave it like this. Okay, and it's done. Everything is done, right? These are the settings I recommend personally to activate on Advanced Themer. And let's just take a look now on how it shows. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm just going to edit this quick sample page. And you see that we have our right shortcut here. So we create elements. If I select section, I have my left tabs here. I can increase these. I have my shortcuts on the tops of the elements. I have my class component menu. I have my shortcut for plain classes and export the styles here. My fields are extended like I want. Here on the top bar, I have the class manager shortcut and my advanced CSS shortcut. But also of course, my AT main menu, where all these options are here. Okay, sorry. Right here, I have my responsive helper if I want to. What I have, of course, I have my styles applied on the structure panel. I can easily quick change my HTML tags, and I see which one I can change and which one I can't. And I have everything, and I can change, of course, my HTML tag view. If I double click here, I can drag my structure panel. I can resize it, and everything is working. Okay, so I'm not going to go into each, of course, but this is the view that I like in Advanced Themer, and I recommend using these features for new customers in Advanced Themer. Okay, I'm going to stop here, guys. I know it's already 1 hour length. Just to show you my recommendation. This is to show how big is Advanced Themer, how many options you have inside it. And there are maybe some option that doesn't fit your needs, and it's totally fine. It's the reason why I decided to make everything an option. You can disable and enable everything you want. And for my support experience, when I check the website of my clients and check what's going on, I'm always curious to check the option they decided to activate and deactivate. And every site is different. Every site is different. I see people enable things that I probably wouldn't, and I see sometimes I'm like really upset because I say, why didn't you enable this option? Advanced CSS is super useful. Why are you keeping it off? It makes no sense for me, right? So it's really a matter of personal preferences. Okay, there's nothing wrong in disabling options in Advanced Themer. Not everything is a good fit for you, maybe. But it's the beauty of the tool. You can just adapt it to your needs, right? I'm not forcing you to have specific enhancements. You can just choose the one that you want. Right, I'm going to stop here, guys. It was fun going through all the options of Advanced Themer, and I hope to see you on the next video. Bye-bye.